Alright, so I just wanted to talk about the public education system in the US. And one, I didn't really realize how expensive it was to fund education. I guess I didn't realize like the scale at which, like how large the community is that we need to educate. Um, when we were watching the videos from the speaker, he made a very good point that the upper class and like the much more wealthy families have better education available to them because they have more money and they can pay for it. And of course that makes sense to me because they have the funds to get that for their children. However, even for the non private schools, he made a point to say that in the wealthier neighborhoods, I think he said $18,000 were spent on the education of those children, whereas in the low-income neighborhoods it was like $8,000. That to me is ridiculous. The only thing I could think of was that maybe they think they're going to put their money where they see more potential. However, when I was reading the article on public education in the U.S., it says that the U.S. loses $2.3 billion for high school graduates who require remediation in reading and math. I guess this just doesn't make sense because if we had educated them better in the beginning, we wouldn't need to educate them better now. So you could save that money now by just putting a little bit more into them later. So that just seems silly to me. And it's just the fact that people believe that low-income families don't deserve good education, it will continue the cycle of poverty, and that just doesn't make sense to me. In one of my classes, we were talking about how when you get out of jail, sometimes you're not able to get student loans. And that just blows my mind because that is just saying, one, you're not worth it, and two, you're just never going to get better. You're not worth getting better. And that just doesn't make sense to me. The point of the prison system should be to punish people and then to get them back into society and get them to be a productive person in society, and not allowing them or not giving them any help to get an education doesn't help them. So it just will continue the cycle of poverty or whatever they're doing, stealing, violence, whatever it is. So that just doesn't make sense to me. And then, for example, in the same article, it says public education in the U.S., and it says 58% of high school graduates say that high school did not fully prepare them for work. That's one, probably because of the lack of funding, and two, at this point, I feel like so many people are expected to just go to college. I know for me personally, it was expected. There was no question about that. And I agree that I don't think school or high school helped me prepare for anything. I think if anything, they just kind of slide you along because they want you to graduate. Unless you're doing one of the vocational programs, cosmetology, or there was a fire science program or anything like that. But that's if your school has the money to provide those programs. And I was lucky enough to go to a school that had the funding for that, but not everybody is, especially inner city schools, the speaker was talking about, New York City, they don't really have that much money to spend. So I feel one, they need to spend it more wisely, and two, they need to just have more in general. The states need to help provide more funding, basically. Thank you.